Well, that's exactly what I'm saying. You can achieve that with one plant, one cutting, so why waste four? People say, well, what if one of them die? Well, how can you determine that it's going to be one of those two in that one post versus the two on that one? So we're speculating and...
But you have varieties. I thought you have to plant varieties in order to cross-pollination.
Yes, but again, there is more to it than just putting two plants together. And the other thing is that I'll mention right off the bat is the synchrony of the flowers. I'm sorry, Roy, you have a question?
Yeah. What is the scientific name of this type, and what are the differences between it and undadas?
I wish I could tell you what the exact scientific name is. I mean, there is a lot of confusion on that. And I'm not a botanist, and hopefully we'll get a botanist that can dig to the bottom of that pile and see and come up with those names. I'll tell you a little bit about what we've done with molecular markers. We've identified, but let me go to the other point first, which was the synchrony of the flowers. The varieties, if you want more than one variety, I wouldn't recommend you do dragon fruit in a monoculture, one single variety. Plant two or three. Based on one is marketing season, you want to extend your season to start. You want to increase the chances for cross-pollination, and you want to increase set, which happens as a result of cross-pollination. The problem is, some varieties, like the light, that variety, at 5 p.m., the flower hasn't opened yet, but the stigma is sticking out of the tip of that flower. And there is a swarm of bees landing on that. Sometimes I see them, and I was waiting to see if any bee would land on it to get in, and what happened is they were coming out loaded with pollen. So they will, at 5 p.m., variety like Valdivia Roja opens up at 11 p.m. So while the light gets pollinated in the afternoon, Valdivia Roja will have to get pollinated in the morning, because there is no bee activity. Hopefully in the tropics there is moths, there is fruit bats that may stir them up and do that, but here there is no bee. Here we rely on bees for the most part. So bees are not there, and if you're hand pollinated, you got to know that thing. So if you have two plants, if you have a delight in a Valdivia Roja and to try to do what you're saying, cross-pollination, one is going to be open, and it's like avocados, flower A, flower B. You'll have a plant that will be loaded with pollen, ready to go at 5 p.m., and the other one won't be ready until 12 hours later, so you're not accomplishing anything. Because the delight, I've looked at the light flowers in the morning, and even though the flowers are there and turgid, but I'll pay you to find a grain of pollen. They've been harvested. So what other variety? And then the white flesh varieties that I mentioned are going to be similar as well. So Armando is a selection that was... Hello? Armando is a selection that was added very late in the, later than the others, and that's why the yields on this were not measured at the same age as the other plants. So the yield reported here wasn't measured within the same after 3 years like we did with the others. So it's very good variety, very hardy. It likes it here, very plump stems, very small fruit though. The fruits tend to be small, and usually and not so fertile. You can see by the number of flowers in the ground. A lot of them don't take, and because of that the fruit's very small. So I like it, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for, say, commercial growing. The variety behind it, this Delight, it's been a really good variety. Second in production to Physical Graffiti. The variety is very sweet, as you heard yesterday. Not much acidity, but it does very well. So if you were to grow a combination of things, I would recommend the Light as one of them. It's very prolific, produces a lot of blooms, but the problem is the earliness in the bloom. Keep that in mind, it opens up very early.
Which variety was that?
The Light is the one behind this here, the one with the flowers. And it's got a very long season as well.
That's a cross between Guatemalenses or?
It's got Guatemalenses in it. All the varieties, the Light, American Beauty, Hoa Red, Haley's Comet, Physical Graffiti, American Beauty and Hoa Red, no, but Haley's Comet, Physical Graffiti, they have Guatemalenses in them. It's a hybrid of G2 that Paul Thompson used to call. which means Guatemalan. But you were talking about the species and the genus. You probably saw a chart that was circulated in the Yahoo group for some slides out of Joseph Mizrahi. And he has a picture of Guatemalenses that he identified in his chart that's nothing to do with the Guatemalenses that I know is Guatemalenses because I got from Guatemala. So, so there is a lot of confusion in that regard, you know, what the genus and proper genus and species is. In the literature, I've come up with 16 Hylocereus species that are growing and all over the place. Some of them I have never seen. So the question is, how do you know which one is each specific species within that genus? DNA markers can do some grouping, but not necessarily without knowing what the original, what the mother plant is. How do you compare back to that one? I don't really know how to do that, and some of the people that I've contracted to do DNA work on them weren't that clear about it either. But we'll continue exploring. Through molecular markers, though, we've really come back to 6 main groups on these things that can be based on geography, really. Like all the Nicaraguans tend to be lumped very within one marker of each other. Valdivia Roja and El Grullo are within one marker of each other. The American Beauty and the Light, very closely related, almost identical. And so is Haley's Comet and Physical Graffiti. So there is a lot of, again, down to 6 groups that we don't know, you know, except for the Guatemalenses and probably this that we can say is Costarricensis, or guess that it is, but I wouldn't.
When you say cross-pollination, it's among species or among genus?
Species.
Species,
Yeah.
not genus.
These are all hopefully one genus.
There's all different species,
Yeah.
not genus.
Yeah, and it may be the same species, just different accessions in many cases as well.
You actually have number 8 up here?
This Orecona, another Nicaraguan selection. This plant was beautiful last year, and you see where they are now. We've even replanted one here, and they just, like I said, root diseases, no root system, they just dried up. And there's been a few issues with watering here as well. The irrigation, you know, there's been a changing in staff, and you know, sometimes rely on people to do the watering, and they don't check. They think by opening the valve, plants are getting water, and that's, you know, that's not usually the case. You got to do checks, and I think that's been doing good issues here. The posts are treated wood. They've been in the ground for the new dye, the other different
Cebra.
The other thing that I'll tell you, and I want to show that because it is a real possibility, if you want to skip the rooting part of it, that is a direct plant.
Bien Hoa White.
We just got the stick, let it dry for a couple of days, and then we stuck it in the ground without rooting them in pots. And if you time it right, if you put your cuttings directly into the soil in the spring, you know, when your soil is warm, you can do it successfully without having to spend any money on pots or potting mix. They do really well. I would recommend, though, that you start with a really nice looking cutting, seasoned.
Have you experimented in pots and have you had fruit
Yeah, you do worry about it. Well, we don't here because it is an adaptation study, so whatever survives, survives. See, everything is neglected equally in that regard. So what's here is what's really withstood the environment, whatever it brought. 2007, it dropped down to 21 degrees here. I didn't even want to come and take a look because I was afraid everything was going to be gone. But I came with like 3 days later, a lot of tree burns, and the plant was really bad. But then I thought, okay, I was let him go and he won't come back for a couple of weeks, came back a couple of weeks, and the damage was really pretty true. You know, then I cleaned them up and the plants kept going. And usually some of them survived, some of them obviously did.
But that was one night.
Yeah, in a very short time. Yeah. Very short time. So, but I'm thinking if you're going to freeze, frost protection, you know, sprinklers may help you down a little bit, and select varieties that are a little bit harder. Some of them, again, the relative rating here helps a little bit in physical graffiti in Valdivia Roja.
All right, into the field we go. Take a quick tour here. All these different varieties. This is Valdivia Roja. I'm also growing this at home. Some I can't tell just by looking at them what they are. I'd have to see the number and look at my chart, but let's just look at all the different varieties for a while and observe how they look. All the differences in the stems, curling. Some are really, really curly, like this guy. Number 47. So as you can see, their trellis system isn't that huge high up. You can actually make it a bit shorter for yourself if you'd like. Whatever you can access. Here's an example of one that hasn't even made it up to the trellis, and you're seeing that there's flowers and fruit already. Same deal with this one here. It's hardly got up, but it's been allowed to spread out a lot, and it's produced flowers and fruit. Oh, here's one that's split open. See, this is what I mean when I say how long can you wait till you actually want to pick your fruit. Now, as I said in a prior video, you technically want to wait until the fins get a little bit of red. That's how I play it safe. Once your fruit is totally red and you see that it's kind of softer than usual, like a soft touch like an avocado would give, then you know it's ripe. Some people say that you need to wait till the fins turn completely red. In this case here, you see that wasn't the deal. The fruit obviously ripped itself open, because what happens is that the skin will only grow so much, and the fruit inside will be like, I want to grow, I want to grow, I want to grow, and it'll eventually end up tearing the skin from inside out. So I hope you guys have been enjoying this Project Pitaya field trip. We're here in Irvine, California on Saturday, August 24th. It's starting to get really hot, but it's worth it. This trip was worth it. I live in the San Fernando Valley, and I took the train down here, no big deal. Then I had to hop on a cab because the buses aren't running today. But this is worth it. This is like, if you're a dragon fruit hobbyist, enthusiast, or if you're curious about learning more about this fruit, this is where you can learn a lot. Later on, we're going to be having a dragon fruit tasting event, so that'll be cool. Stay tuned for that. All right. This is like a huge piece, and these spines are one of the deadliest I've seen on a variety of dragon fruit. I think this one he said was El Gurro, that comes from Mexico. It's a fairly new variety. Well, anywhere introduced here to California. Look at that beautiful fruit right there. Smells very flowery around here. It's a distinct perfume that these flowers have. You can recognize it immediately. The first time, if you've never been around dragon fruit, you'll get a whiff of it. But then, when you've been used to working with dragon fruit and you happen to smell it, you immediately know that that's it. It's unmistakable.
Oh, and this is Mr. Valdivia. Oh, I wanted to ask you, how do you have the what? Yes, in the hut.
I did 760 by 4 foot. 500.
All right, so time has come to taste some fruit here. That is so sweet. It's really hard to describe. It's like, seriously, you have to try dragon fruit because I think I consider it having its own flavor of its own. This is the light pink variety. This one here, I'm not too sure. I'm gonna have to find out which one it is. Look at that color. Wow, this is nothing like what you can find in the store. That's why you just gotta either grow your own or get them from a local farmer. Alright guys, back in a few.
And I would say a couple that have been doing more than their dues to promote dragon fruit cultivation in California, not only by making themselves available, but making information available and making material available, which is kind of a hard thing to do sometimes. So without saying anything else, I will welcome Linda Nickerson and your guest spot here. And I would say that we had him, when I asked him to bring the awards, it was going to be one only with both names of you guys. But then I thought, what number do we put first? And so we thought, let's make two. And Jerry, thank you, and appreciate it.
Show you, okay, all right.
With the ice cream truck behind.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, thank you, Linda and Jerry.
Thank
you guys
you very much. This is too
tremendous.
much.
So if you
Too
wanna-
much. Thank you
If
so
you want to say
much.
anything, I'm address the crowd in this case.
We want to say that this is from the heart. We enjoy every minute we spend with you guys, telling you what we've learned. We are happy to do it anytime. Send me an email if you need information. Come out to the farm and see what we're doing. I'm a teacher by trade. Gerhard is not, but he's learned a lot from me. And we just love doing this. And thank you so much for this show of appreciation. We really, really appreciate it.
And invite everybody for tomorrow.
What? Oh, and invite tomorrow. Tell them to invite
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Tomorrow.